Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Ron Paul Liberty Report. With me today is Daniel McAdams, who is the Executive Director of the Institute for Peace and Prosperity. Daniel, good to be with you today.
Good to be back.
Good. Wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in a place we've spent a little bit of time already discussing because we consider it one of the most dangerous places in the world where war may be expanding. And that is back to Ukraine again. There are some new things happening there. And Justin Raimondo just recently summarized the number of people who have been killed, just this year. And it's like 11 or 12 individuals have just been killed out of clear blue. Some committed suicide, some got in car accidents, some just flat out got shot. But there's a connection between those four, and that has to do that they were all part of Yanukovych's administration and friends of Yanukovych. Is that just a coincidence?
Yeah, you have to wonder about it. All of these individuals were associated with what's now the opposition, and just this week, actually just 2 days in a row, you had a member of parliament who was assassinated in front of his house, and then a leading journalist who was the editor-in-chief previously of the main now opposition newspaper who was gunned down in his front yard. And these are, they started out 5 or 6 ago, people thinking it's suspicious. Now you're up to 11 or 12 of these, and people are wondering if something's happening. The only people who don't seem to be wondering if something is happening here is the U.S. State Department and the Obama administration.
Well, our government's for democracy and spreading goodness around the world. You would think they would be, would be going in there to help out. But evidently that isn't happening. We're not trying to find out who did this murdering and killing, but obviously we haven't made things better by being on the sides of those individuals in Kiev, in Western Ukraine, and you see this going on, and I still am totally bewildered by the total inconsistency of the administration because, I keep seeing little hints of maybe we ought to back off, maybe we ought to open up discussion with Iran, maybe we ought to talk to the Cubans and think something making common sense, and yet they go out of their way. Just think of, what was going on in Syria, how we're going to have regime change by the same government. And, our friend Glenn Greenwald just had a recent article out. He called the Free Syrian Army a total myth, and he really blasted it. Yeah. I'm just wondering whether this whole thing, someday somebody might not write about the myth of the danger of the Yanukovych and the so-called Russian-aligned group in eastern Ukraine.
Of course, you're always accused of being pro-Putin because you care about the truth here. But you know what the rest of the world does not fail to see the double standards in U.S. foreign policy. And if you remember, at the end of February, when a Russian opposition politician, just one opposition politician, who wasn't even a member of parliament, he was from a minor party, but he was killed near the Kremlin. And that same day, I don't think he was even hours later, that John Kerry was saying the Russians had better get to the bottom of this. They need to find out who did it. Dianne Feinstein suggested that maybe Putin had a hand in it, and others were pointing the finger at Putin. We still don't know exactly what happened, but it's interesting, after over a year and 11 people being killed, opposition people in Ukraine, and I did a search before we started this show, I've not seen a single word uttered by the administration. Not that they should get involved in it, but not a single word of concern that something very strange is going on here.
Well, the biggest job we have is getting the truth out. And obviously the media in this country is not giving us the truth because most people, even though they don't want to have war, they've sort of supportive. Russians are bad people and all this. It's so amazing how quickly the sentiment changed, but it is the orchestration from the media. But it isn't just this evidence that things are going badly and we're aligned with people that are using assassination to enhance their power for many, many different reasons. But it looks like there's a lot more than that because we've just sent some troops in there. And it could be up to 800 troops with a battalion, but not with guns. They're not going to shoot anybody, of course, but they're going to train people, along with evidence now that because of the appropriation and authorization, that our weapons may be going there as well.
And it's a highly provocative move. The 173rd airborne, I think it is, not airborne, paratroopers have gone in, they say 300, as you say, battalion up to 800, but it's very, very unusual because there's still an ongoing civil conflict in Ukraine. So injecting foreign military into this, particularly when you have a very, very shaky ceasefire that's holding, when you take foreign military and you help train one side, it really is pouring gasoline on a fire rather than trying to ratchet it back down toward peace.
Yeah, and you know, there has to be ulterior motives, and we've read some stories about some financial connections from special politicians in this country that have investments in that area as long as the Western Ukrainians are in charge. But you know, there have been, you know, the people who throw the terms around, they say, oh, well, you know, the East, they're the bunch of newfound communists and part of the Soviet system. But the other side have been charged with being associated with some fascists. And sometimes when I look at this type of murders, you just wonder. But to me, it just makes the case for non-intervention, you know, to sort all that out and civil strife going on, but the obsession with this and just building on lies, this cannot end well. This is going to end badly, and hopefully we can wake up enough people.
I hope we can. You know, the U.S. military has undertaken so many exercises through NATO on Russia's border. It seems to me it is so dangerous. They're looking to provoke some sort of reaction. And do we need this 25 years after the Cold War ends?
Yeah. And you know, folks, I'm glad you joined in, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to see it our way soon. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be talking about this, and we'll continue to talk about it. I do know that the younger generation's waking up and they don't like these ongoing wars. So I would say that we have to continue with this effort to try to wake the people up. But unfortunately, I don't think our militarism is going to end until our dollar goes bust, and which is always a possibility, may be coming soon. And that could be one of the blessings in disguise, is with a financial crisis where we can't afford this, that we will have to change our tune. And we have to remember the Soviet system collapsed not because they couldn't shoot enough people and drop enough bombs. They collapsed for economic reason. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to the Ron Paul Liberty Report, and please come back soon.